Hi, my name is Michael Hollins, and I am the principal attorney here at the Hollins Bankruptcy Law Office, where we practice bankruptcy law. And today I would like to talk about the differences between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. But first, if you would like any additional information regarding bankruptcy, please head on over to hollinsbankruptcy.com. Allow us to, you can set an appointment, allow us to talk to you, about your personal situation, and let's see if we can help that to make bankruptcy your solution if that's what you need. Now, on to our topic, Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13. I have a graphic I'd like to bring up that will give us a roadmap as to what we're talking about today. Chapter 7, you see the green 7, and Chapter 13, the red 13. It is going to show some similarities, but some differences. And so we're going to go line by line and kind of talk about the two. This is a question that I get a lot. What are the differences? How can one help me? How is one better than the other? So with Chapter 7, as you see, 78% of the cases that are filed in bankruptcy, almost 80% of them are Chapter 7. 20% are Chapter 13, and about 2% are Chapter 11, which is business bankruptcy. We will not be covering that here today. Now in Chapter 7, you don't have to pay anything back. We call that the fresh start. You don't have to pay back your debts that fit for Chapter 7, with the exception of child support, some taxes. You don't have to pay the debts back. The credit cards, the medical bills, the loans, those things can be wiped out. Now with Chapter 13, it's a wage earner's plan. So you're restructuring your debt. So there will be some debt that is paid back in a Chapter 13. For instance, if you want to keep your house and you're behind on it, Chapter 13 will allow you to pay back the debt that you are in arrears in bite-sized chunks. And that's what that line means when they say we're going to pay some debt back. You're going to get caught up on some assets that you want to keep, houses, cars, and those things. Chapter 7, you get a discharge in about 3 months. Chapter 7, give or take a week or so. From start, date of filing, until discharge of debt, it's about 90 days. Or Chapter 13, those plans are 3 years or 5 years, depending on the plan, which is a much longer time than the 90 days I spoke about with Chapter 7. However, that Chapter 13, it really is a wonderful thing to have 60 months to be able to get caught up on something. If you're behind $6,000 on a home, let's say, to be able to pay $100 a month for 60 months to get caught up is wonderful. Rather than a mortgage company saying, no, I need my $6,000, within 30 days or within 90 days. It's a lot easier to pay bite-sized pieces of that arrearage versus having to pay it all at the same time. So that 3 years to 5 years, while it looks like a very dominant figure, it really works out to your advantage if you are looking at Chapter 13 to get caught up. Okay, Chapter 7 is the least expensive of the two, and that is talking about legal fees. So to file Chapter 7, you have to pay your attorney to make that happen for you. Those filing legal fees on the average around the country are typically 1/3 to 1/2 of what you will pay with a Chapter 13. So you really are looking at less time with a Chapter 7, and you're looking at less monies. Not necessarily less upfront monies, but overarchingly, Chapter 7 is cheaper. But that goes depending on what attorney you go to as well. But for the most part, it will be cheaper. Now, Chapter 7 has an income requirement. You see that line there. And all that means is that there is a test that basically your income has to be underneath a certain median level, depending on how many people are in your household, to qualify to get that fresh start that Chapter 7 gives you, where you don't have to pay the debts back. It's only 3 months long, and it is least expensive. To qualify for that, you have to have a certain level of income underneath a certain bar. Whereas Chapter 13, there is no such bar. In fact, you actually have to have wages to actually qualify for a wage earner's plan. So you can't attempt to save a car or save a home and not have income to show that you have the ability to pay for what you are behind. And so you have to have wages. Now, chapter 13, it also says that you will not lose your assets. And while that is not always the case, most of the time there is a plan available, most of the time, where the assets that you would like to keep, chapter 13, there is a way that you can work that out a lot of times. That happens by the next line down, rewriting loan terms. Sometimes you can do that. You can look at the loan, restructure it so that it fits you and that it makes the plan feasible, your chapter 13 plan feasible. Chapter 7 is on your credit for 10 years. So that is something that a lot of people look at as a negative. And I'll tell you, I guess it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is a lot of times the goal is just to buy a home. If your goal is to buy a home, FHA underwriters, at the time of the shooting of this video, they say 2 years post bankruptcy or 2 years after the filing of your chapter 7 with responsible credit use, they will lend you the monies for a home. You just have to come out of bankruptcy with the mindset that you are going to be responsible moving forward. As far as vehicles and credit cards are concerned, you can get those much quicker. Those come much quicker after bankruptcy. And so if those are your goals, then those are some of the things that you could expect in most situations. Now, the chapter 13, that stays on your credit for 7 years. Okay. And you don't have to wait 2 years to get a mortgage if you're looking at a chapter 13. There are lenders who will lend to you in a chapter 13 in that you are a wage earner and you are repaying your debts. That goes towards solidifying that you are a responsible credit user. And so you don't necessarily have to wait that 2 years to show that you have that track record. Now, anything I talk about here with mortgages is kind of overarchingly, you should absolutely connect with your FHA lender and tell them, Attorney Hollins with Hollins Bankruptcy told me that if I filed Chapter 7, 2 years later, you would be willing to give me a mortgage. Let them talk to you about that process. Let them talk to you about what they need to see from post-bankruptcy filing to you actually getting your mortgage, and talk that process out with them. So now there are asterisks, and it says other nuances for Chapter 7 as well as Chapter 13, because of course I can't cover every single niche and nick and cranny of what could happen in either of these filings. But what I can do is I can give you an opportunity to share with me what is going on in your personal situation, something that may be keeping you up at night, or something that maybe you need to take advantage of bankruptcy so that maybe you don't have the debt that you have right now. I can offer you the opportunity to speak with me, speak with an attorney here at Hollins Bankruptcy, and it is a free consultation where we can dig deeper into what your personal situation is. Well, how do I do that? Of course, you go to hollinsbankruptcy.com where you can get all of that good information, or you can give us a call at 866-86-BILLS. That's 866-862-4557. We'll be more than happy to speak with you and set up an appointment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and share it with somebody. Share it on your page. Share it. You never know who may need this information. As always, please be safe, and thank you for listening.